Welcome to the Jboy Show, hosted by Jake Crain, the fastest growing sports show in the nation.
I'm Coach Hugh Freeze.
This is Super Bowl champion Brandon Graham.
Hey, this is DJ Shockley, and you're watching.
And thanks for watching the Jboy Show.
Hey, everybody. Very excited to talk to Stephen Smith from the Touchdown Alabama magazine. I'm going to talk a lot about Alabama, preview the SEC, look at the SEC West, and obviously get his thoughts on some of the new teams coming to the party. But first, got to give a shout out to betonline.ag. Head over there today, whether it's parlays, pleasers, teasers, geezers, whatever. However you get down, player props, team props, game props, you need to go to betonline.ag. And if you sign up now, here's the caveat. If you sign up now, whether it's on a laptop, desktop, mobile, regardless, if you send a pigeon with a letter on its foot, you're going to get 50% off, a welcome bonus, so a 50% sign-up bonus, but that's only if you go sign up now for a limited time. We've got Major League Baseball going on. We got the Olympics going on as we speak, and there's 9,000 different sports. I'm just ready to see who wins the dodgeball championships. Is it going to be Average Joe's? Is it going to be Globo Gym? Will it be another upset? I don't know. Could it be the guys that are jumping around doing karate, or the Lumberjacks? At this point, whatever you want to bet on, I think the Lumberjacks are like plus 900 right now. Just throw $10 on that, but you can find it all at betonline.ag. Head over there today and tell them that Jboy sent you. Now, my monologue before we get in here, I think this is fascinating to me. And when I'm thinking about doing these monologues, I always try and think a little outside the box. And there are narratives that are easy. I could sit here and pick some easy things, but I want feedback from you guys on this, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, wherever in social media. With Alabama and adding Texas and Oklahoma, what rivalry will end up, let's just say 5 years from now. Let's say 5 years from now. What game will mean more or have more vitriol for Alabama? Alabama versus Texas or Alabama versus Oklahoma? Now, there's a couple different ways to look at this. The first one that jumps out is Texas is one of the biggest brands on the planet, one of the biggest in college football. Alabama, same thing. You have Steve Sarkisian, another former Alabama assistant, coming into the hen house trying to see if he can steal some eggs and run out and crash the Nick Saban party. Does he have the roster to do that? Not right now, he doesn't, but will he? And when he does get that roster, will he be able to outsmart Nick Saban? Or will we have to wait till Nick Saban's 147 years old for their roster to even match what Alabama has done? But you've got two huge brands going against each other with two fan bases that think they are the best. Even though Texas has literally won nothing since Vince Young ran around the edge to win the national championship, and Alabama has put together maybe the greatest dynasty since the Ming dynasty, when you're looking at it, both of their fan bases still think they're in the same spot. And the Texas fans versus Alabama fans, I am so here for it. I can't wait. So you have that angle. Then you look at Bama and Oklahoma. Oklahoma, a team that's made the playoff. Very good offensively. Lincoln Riley is a savant. Not a Nick Saban disciple, but somebody that is held in the highest regard as an innovative offensive mind and an unbelievable communicator of plays. The fact that he can just look and do this and it means 9 things on the sidelines and everybody understands it, that's why those NFL coaches were going down there. It wasn't just about schematically and what they were doing and the pin and pull and stuff like that, and then the way he's added on to that. It's the way he's able to communicate it in a way that gets everything out there. It's easy to understand, and it's quick. They have really good talent, especially offensively. They've got to juice up the defense. But with that matchup, does Alabama look at Oklahoma not as more of a threat, but more of a challenge every year compared to Texas? Right now, I think you'd have to say yes. So I'm very interested to see what you guys think 5 years down the road. Which rival, I can't even say rivalry yet. Which game will have more vitriol or more oomph to it? Bama versus Texas or Bama versus Oklahoma? Just another exciting thing to think about with all these merger and the great matchups that we're going to get. Speaking about great things, if you want some great merch, you need to go to jboyshow.com right now. We're adding a ton of stuff. I've been asked about the white hoodies a ton. And we are about to get a truckload of white hoodies. The gray hoodies will be back in stock. We're going to add everything, koozies, everything. Shoot, we'll even make an eye patch for Coach Leach and send it to him if we got to. So go to the jboyshow.com. Also, make sure you subscribe. We just hit over 100,000 views on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Our subscribers are going up. The content's going to keep getting pushed out just the way you guys like it and what you're used to. No politics, all ball. We're helping you win the water cooler. Let's get Stephen Smith in here. Let's talk some SEC football. All right, everybody, let's get in the interview portion of today's show. Excited to be joined by Stephen M. Smith, not Stephen A. Smith. I will not make that mistake. The whole interview from Touchdown Alabama Magazine does a really good job over there. Stephen, what's up, man?
Doing good, man. Doing great. How are you guys doing? Happy to be here.
Yeah,
excited to be here.
No, we're doing great, man. I need the football season to get here, Stephen. I need it to get here. We've had media day. We got a bunch of fodder. I want it to be here tomorrow. I'm tired of waiting.
I mean, you along with 300 million others, man. You along with Nick Saban. You along with Uncle Mo down the street.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, Stephen, I want to start, obviously, looking at this Alabama team. We've talked about them a lot. We're going to get to the West, and I want to ask you about the schedule. But when I look at them offensively, you obviously replace a lot. Losing Mac, losing Devontae, losing Jalen. You can just go down the list. But that's the greatest part about Nick Saban is his ability to recruit and his ability to be able to structure the roster where you may have guys that are inexperienced. And again, you return Slade Bolden and a couple of these other guys. But when you look at the Alabama offense, what is the expectation for you?
I think the expectation is not really the expectation is to be explosive quite naturally. But at the same time, I think it's more so of the balance offensively, wanting to have the run and pass together. When you look at the fact that you do have 5 running backs on the roster, Saban does want to run the football behind this offensive line. You don't want to put a tremendous amount of pressure on Bryce Young, though he can create, though he can make plays. We saw this in the spring game, but I think at the heart of Nick Saban, you've got 5 backs. You have an offensive line that's determined to repeat as the Joe Moore Award winner. So you do want to have that balance with Bill O'Brien taking over for Steve Sarkisian. I know fans were excited. They're scoring a whole bunch of points. It's extremely sexy. But you're getting 40 and 50 and 60 points a game, and you average darn near 50 points a game for the first time in the Saban era. We were all kind of taken back by that, and we enjoyed a lot of that. But I think at the heart of Saban, it's let's find a way to achieve that balance where we can take shots when we want to, but we also feel like we can line up and just pound the ball on you. We can do that as well. So I think at the end, Saban just wants that fine balance.
Without a doubt, and I think you bring up a great point. Not that Bryce Young can't handle different things, but he played in some games. He got a little experience, but it's different when you're the guy. We all remember Jeremy Johnson at Auburn and how high everybody was because he had a couple good games.
Poor JJ, man. Poor JJ. Poor dude.
That was a tough deal. But, you know, when I look at Bill O'Brien and people say, all right, NFL coach, a lot of people think immediately pass. I'm with you with this offense, with the way that the roster is structured offensively, with the lack of experience really out wide, with a tight end like Latu, with a guy like Billingsley that you can put in line and do things in the intermediate passing game. I think this is definitely going to be a run to pass offense and maybe more of a ball control offense. When you look at this opener against Miami, Stephen, how diverse do you think Bill O'Brien and them will be with Bryce Young? Because again, they're going to have better players than Miami, and I think they're going to be able to establish the run very early.
There's going to be some different things O'Brien will do with Bryce. I think number one, expect to see him roll Bryce out a little bit.
Yep.
Some boot plays, some roll out, some boot action, trying to get Bryce on the edge to attack with his arm or attack with his footwork, with his legs, with his athleticism. He is a dual threat quarterback. But I think you'll also see moments where he will have Bryce stand in that pocket, survey that field, and go through those progressions. We saw a couple of times in the A-Day game where Bryce was under fire. He stood in that pocket, made some big throws, including the 59-yard touchdown pass to Cameron Latu at tight end when there was some friction, some pressure in his face. So you will see a couple of things Bill O'Brien will pull out of the arsenal there. Now, I feel like this is, as much as people want to put a lot on Bryce Young because he is the guy now, I think it's more so the marriage of him and Bill O'Brien. Will this marriage work? Will these two hit it off well immediately? Because this was Steve Sarkisian's project. Sarkisian recruited Bryce. Sarkisian brought him in. Both guys are from the state of California. So when Sarkisian left to go take the Texas job, people were like, holy smoke, Sark left. This was Sark's guy. Sark brought him in. Who are we going to get to develop this project? So here comes Bill O'Brien, who inherits the project, who inherits the Maserati, if you will. And he has to be able to make this relationship work with the Maserati and Bryce Young. And it will have to start early here against Miami. So expect some different things that O'Brien will do.
Without a doubt. And you bring up a great point that, Sark, that this was his guy and Bill coming in. And again, you always adapt to the Alabama offense, but Bryce Young's probably making more than Bill O'Brien is now. I find that interesting as well. It's looking at that dynamic. But Steven, give me one breakout player that not enough Alabama fans are talking about on offense. Mine is a guy you already mentioned, Cameron Latu. I think he has a chance to be very special. I think they're going to utilize him and play him and Billingsley off of each other. And I think he's going to become a huge target in the red zone.
I think a guy for me offensively, and we saw this young man in the A-Day game, and that's Ajay Hall, number 17, the true freshman from Florida. I mean, this kid, 6'3", 195 pounds. And when you watched him out there, so many visions of Julio Jones came to mind. Big, rangy, physical, athletic, balanced body control, making contested catches, the ability to contort himself and work his way back to the ball is very much so high IQ, plays way beyond the freshman grade, that the freshman classification that he is. Coach Saban even mentioned, hey, this is a guy that we want to get the ball to. This is probably one of our more explosive guys on the field, and we want to work him around, whether it's outside, whether it's inside, whether it's close to the ball, away from the ball. We got to get this young man the football, because when we get it to him, he can do some stuff. So I think breakout player 17, Ajay Hall, watch that kid. He's got game. Got a lot of game.
Yeah. And I mean, you look down that roster, the way they've recruited, and it's always like Saban just goes into Florida and he's like, I'll just take the best receiver. Like, where's the best receiver in Florida? I'll take him. You just look, you go down the list. It's like every year.
You got to hurt for Dan Mullen, because you look at this. Alabama takes the best running backs, the best offensive linemen, the best receivers, the best defensive backs. It's whatever Florida has, just go down there and get it, because Dan Mullen is not putting the fence around.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like, you decide, I'm going to go cook a couple steaks. I'm going to go get a couple cuts of steaks, wherever you get your steaks, whatever. And you take them back and you're grilling them. You're in your backyard. And then all of a sudden, let's say 3 steaks are done. And the biggest, juiciest one, the best cut that you got for yourself that you can't wait to eat. And then just Nick Saban just walks in your house, goes to the backyard, gets a fork, takes the steak, says what's up, and goes back to his house and eats it. That's exactly what it's like.
Which is very sad, because then you couldn't put the A1 on your steak, which is very depressing.
Hey, I can't wait for the feedback on that. You know how people are, sauce and steak. I mean, Mahomes puts ketchup on his. That's why we need to blood test that guy. I swear he's a Hogwarts graduate. But, Steven, when you look at this defense, let's transition to the defense. I think this unit has a chance to be the best unit in the league. We had our, preseason unit rankings. I had them the number 1 defense with what they return. We know how good they are up front. We know they just lost Surtain in the secondary. Interested to see how those guys, the chemistry works without him. I know there's been a lot of talk about Kool-Aid McKinstry. I coached Kyrie Jackson for a little bit. I know how talented he is. Let's start with the front 7 on defense. How excited are you to watch this Alabama defense take the next step? And do you think they are going to be as dominant as what they're projected to be?
I think this front 7 has the potential to be as good as the 2011 group was and as the 2016 group were, if not better than both of those two. This is a defense that you're rotating 10 to 12 guys. We know the Fadarian Mathises, the DJ Dales, the Tim Smiths, but the Brian Ray is finally back fully healthy. And this is somebody that Nick Saban has said, when he's healthy, this is a different defense. It's a better looking defense because of the experience he brings, the quick twitch, edge rushing abilities that he has when he came in 2017 as a 5-star from James Clemens High School in Madison, Alabama. This guy can get off the ball and get to the quarterback. It's just he's dealt with a lot of injuries in his career, but he's finally healthy. So you look at him along with other guys being rotated, but the outside linebacker position, that's going to be the fun spot right there because you got Chris Allen, who's finally healthy. People overlook CA a whole lot. They talk about Will Anderson, and for good reasons. Will Anderson was a showstopper last year.
He's my SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Will is.
But when Chris Allen is healthy, oh mama, there's that dude. Because 6'4", 252 from Louisiana, freakishly athletic, 13 tackles for loss last year, led the SEC, 6 sacks, 5 quarterback hurries. He drops you to the ground. I mean, you got the 2 inside backers. When you look at Christian Harris playing weak side, he is see ball, get ball. And the middle linebacker will be an interesting conversation between Henry To'oto, the transfer from Tennessee, and Jalen Moody, who's entering his 4th year in the program. I can't wait to see that matchup take place in fall camp. So I look at the front 7. This could be probably the best front 7 since even the 2011 group or the 2016 group. This is a very hungry group. And they've heard since 2018, you guys are not good anymore. You're not elite anymore. You're not special anymore. They're tired of hearing that. They're ready to get after it with their hair on fire.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's high praise, but you look at the personnel and it's very doable. I mean, it's very doable. And like you said, and I said on the show, nothing is more motivating to an 18 to 22-year-old male than having a chip on your shoulder, or told that you're not something, or that you came here to play defense at Alabama, but you're not living up to the standard that guys did before you. That's a huge motivating factor. Now, when you look at this schedule, Stephen, obviously you start with Miami. It's the SEC. It's never going to be easy. But I do think, and this is the point I guess Nick Saban's brought Alabama to, I do think Alabama loses a regular season game this year, just with all the inexperience, and not saying they won't win the whole thing. I mean, they shoot with Saban. You never know, can never count them out. But how do you think this schedule fits with the personnel? And do you think Alabama will lose a regular season game? I have them winning the West, but I would not be surprised if they dropped one.
If a loss does come in the regular season, I look at 3 teams here. If a loss does come, I look at 3. I look at the matchup with Florida in the Swamp is going to be a very intriguing matchup. Emory Jones is a really good quarterback. This is a Dan Mullen type of quarterback. When you look at, he is highly athletic, but he can rip the football. He can throw the football. Of course, Florida, no more Kadarius Toney, no more Kyle Pitts, no more Trayvon Grimes. So you have to kind of find who's that receiver for Florida. But you do have the quarterback in Emory Jones. You do have a leader on defense in Jeremiah Moon at linebacker. And going down to hot, steamy, congested Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, that atmosphere is going to be wild. So that's a matchup to keep your eyes on. But you look at, you host Ole Miss and Bryant-Denny. Lane Kiffin is always eerie because he coached at Alabama for 3 years, 2014 to 16. He has schemed against this defense before. He knows his personnel. He's a very cocky, very confident guy. You have a quarterback in Matt Corral that people have named as the as first team all SEC quarterback. He's really good. He's confident. They've got talent back, and just bringing Lane Kiffin to Tuscaloosa for a football game. You always got to kind of circle that one because that one's interesting. I mean, last but not least, you got Texas A&M. You go down to College Station. You go down to Kyle Field, and Jimbo Fisher has already said, we're going to beat Alabama while Nick Saban's there. He put the word out there. So now, Jimbo, can you back up the claim? You now have to back it up. You put it out there. You now have to answer the bell. So if a loss does come, I would look at one of those 3 games.
Yeah, and again, I agree with you on everyone but the Florida one. I actually think Alabama will cost Grantham his job week 3. I've called it. It's Judgment Day week 3 for Todd Grantham and the Florida defense. I know how talented they are, and they'll always have good players, but trying to replicate what they did offensively last year. But I could not agree with you more how scary Lane and Ole Miss are, because all they need is a couple stops and a couple turnovers, because Lane and Levy and them are going to have a good plan. Matt's going to understand it. I love Braylon Sanders coming back. Jerrion Ealy's a witch of the highest order, and they have some ability out there, even though they did lose a Boa too. But that A&M game, they are building this one up like the SEC game of the year. It really is what it sounds like to me, outside of, the SEC championship and stuff like that. That matchup, October 9th, I believe it is, a night game at Kyle Field. It's going to be just an absolute fist fight. And look, Jimbo did say it. And, whether it was in jest or whatever, I don't think, it was 100% in jest. But that's the mindset you got to have. Because when you are trying to beat a team, a Nick Saban-led team, that is that talented, You have to raise your standard every day. It's not about game day. It's because the price goes up every day. It goes up every day. And the way you live off the field always bubbles to the surface when you play a team like Alabama, because they stroll in here like we're the big bad guys because we've done everything we've had to do to get to this point. You have to match it. But you can't. The biggest mistake, Stephen, I think you'll agree with me. The biggest mistake teams make is they say, oh, we're playing Bama this week. We've got to step up our game. You've always got to step up your game. The difference between Alabama is they don't care if they're playing LSU or SCLSU, the Mud Dog. They're going to prepare the same, and you have to do that as well, because championships are won before you even step on the field. And there's an old saying in coaching, and then I got one of my favorite questions I got to ask you, but there's an old saying: if you make practice more important than the game, then the game is easy. And that's what they do at Alabama, as well as get the best players on the planet. So you mix that two together, and it's a pretty good combination. That's some pretty good juice in the punch bowl there. But Stephen, here we go. This is my monologue, and I'm so giddy about seeing these matchups now that Oklahoma and Texas have decided they wanted to join the party. Which game will mean more, in your opinion? Let's say 5 years down the road from now, not this year, but 5 years down the road from now. Bama versus Texas or Bama versus Oklahoma? Go, Stephen.
This one's so tough, but give me Bama versus Texas, because it's all with Texas. It's always everything's bigger here, everything's better here. You can shake a tree limb and 1,000,000 5-stars fall. We got oil down here. We got power brokers down here. It's Friday Night Lights down here. Texas feels like they're the autonomy. So I feel like
I like
that matchup down the road between Bama and Texas, the two biggest brands in college football, it's going to mean so much. And especially if Steve Sarkisian hits as a head coach. If Sark hits as a head coach, that matchup becomes magnified, because then the conversation becomes, is Sarkisian the former assistant that can finally beat Nick Saban? He's 23-0 against his former assistants, but is Sark the one that can finally get it done? So if Sark hits, that matchup becomes magnified, but just on the surface, because of how much everybody loves to hate Texas and everybody also sort of loves to hate Alabama, that matchup for years to come is going to be the big one.
Yeah, and Stephen, we're here with Stephen Smith. I'm going to let him plug his stuff in a second. Really enjoying this conversation, Stephen. We definitely have to do this again. My last question for you. Let's play a game I invented at SEC Media Days. It's called One Caveat. I'm going to ask you a question, then I'm going to follow it with one caveat before you answer. Are you ready to step into the Thunderdome, Stephen?
Hey, I was born ready.
Ooh, I like this. I was born in the dark. All right, so give me one dark horse SEC team. The one caveat is you can't pick Alabama or Georgia. And I know they're really not dark horses, but there we go.
Dark horse SEC team, Ole Miss.
That's been a popular answer. I got Kentucky. I think they finished second in the East. I look at Florida's schedule, and it's just it's going to be like playing Frogger. I mean, those guys are being dodging Mack trucks. I mean, you got to go on the road for most of your important games. You get Bama at home. Congratulations. You get Georgia and Jacksonville, which you can call that a home game, but Georgia's probably just as good, if not a better roster than Alabama has this year, and they're all pissed off. So, but Stephen, I love the pick, man. We have got to do this again. Tell everybody where they can find your content and where they can find you on social media, my friend.
Absolutely. I've had fun. I've enjoyed this myself. Other people can find me on Twitter at Coaching M. Smith on Twitter. It's at Coaching M. Smith, but I'm not covering Bama. I got to do some volunteer coaching back home with the kids in football. We're having a season this year, so I'm excited about that. So they can find me on Twitter right there. They can also find the site on Twitter. That's Touchdown Alabama Magazine at TD Alabama Mag on Twitter. That's at TD Alabama Mag. The site itself is touchdownalabama.com, touchdownalabama.com, where we are breaking down the whole gamut of what is the Crimson Tide fall camp is next week. So I'm about ready to see Nick Saban yell at people again.
Hey, you know it's time when Nick Saban's out in the field yelling with his nice little brim hat. But Stephen, I really appreciate you coming on, brother. Let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. You guys take care.
Definitely. Make sure you guys go to the jboyshow.com, grab some merch. We really appreciate you joining us. Numbers are blowing up. The content's going to keep coming. We got some really big announcements. Make sure you subscribed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, at the Jboy Show on Twitter and Instagram. It's been another edition of the Jboy Show with Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama Mag. And like Ajaya Hall, we're going, gone.
The Jboy Show is produced by David Cohn, Technical Director Dave Hammock, Creative Director David Culbertson, Audio Engineer Feyzan Shareef, Production Assistants Blain, Crain, and Kyle Orr, Executive Producers Crain, Vince Thompson, Steve Chamberlain, and David Cohn. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, thejboyshow.com, for updates regarding our newest apparel and merch designs. Win the water cooler with the Jboy Show.